Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this special council meeting of Belleville City Council. I'll note that we're all in attendance with the exception of Councillor Williams. Call the meeting to order and ask for a disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, there are a number of items that will not be dealt with at today's meeting. A moment of prayer or meditation, the public meetings, a reading and confirmation of minutes, deputations, correspondence, consent items, council information matters, bylaws, new business, motions, notice of motions, and announcements. I need a motion to go into committee of the whole to hear and consider reports, passing of recommendations and resolutions with myself in the chair. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor McCaw. All in favor? It's carried. Item 8A, reports. We have one report. Contract ENG 2020-01, Belleville Boulevard and Sydney Street corridor improvements. Deputy Director Manager of Engineering report number ENG 2020-01, and the resolution is that the tender submission from Gordon Bar Limited be accepted for contract ENG 2020-01, Bell Boulevard and Sydney Street corridor improvements in the amount of $17,391,869.33 plus $2,260,943.01 HST for a total dollar amount of $19,652,812.34. This being the lowest cost tender received, and the Mayor and the City Clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the Corporation of the City of Belleville, and that the City Clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Motion moved by Councillor McCaw, seconded by Councillor Sanderson. Manager Ford, Deputy Director, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
We have your report in our package. I wonder if you would like to introduce the subject to us and do a bit of a review for us.
Certainly, thank you, Your Worship. It's with great pleasure that we present this report to Council to award the contract for the widening of Bell Boulevard and the reconstruction of Sydney Street. We recognize, staff has recognized this has been a high priority project for Council, and we've been focused on this over the past year. It's been quite the adventure as we've had to start from scratch almost and start with an environmental assessment process through detailed design into tendering, so that we are here today to present you with a tender award recommendation. It's been an interesting process. As I said, we started off doing an environmental assessment process, and we were fortunate in our discussions with the Ministry of the Environment to receive an exemption from completing the complete environmental assessment process. They actually issued a declaration order to allow us to proceed on with design and construction of this project. That's quite a unique undertaking. I believe that might be actually the first declaration order issued by the ministry for a road project to municipality under the Environmental Assessment Act. And that essentially freed up about 6 months of time within the project that we were able to then dedicate towards the detailed design process. We have a great project management team behind us. Deanna O'Leary, our senior project manager on this one, was the key project manager to guide us through and get this detailed design done. And to give you an idea of the complexity of this, we started the detailed design in the summer, and before we had our environmental assessment clearance, and we were able to just barely make our deadline of December 20th to have that design package completed. When we're talking a $20 million project, there's a lot of details, a lot of nuts and bolts that have to be put together, a lot of attention to detail that goes into this type of construction contract, and that was quite an undertaking. And we had to perhaps focus more on this and less on other things, but we still managed to achieve a lot of successes on our other projects while delivering this project on time as we had promised. We want to make sure during the tendering process that we wound up with a contractor that's capable of completing this construction. We have aggressive timelines. I'll speak to those in just a moment. But we wanted to make sure that we had a good contractor that's capable of completing this on time. So we actually went through a pre-qualification process in December, where we invited contractors to tell us what they're about, demonstrate that they have the qualifications, experience, equipment, et cetera, to deliver a project like this on time. And we were fortunate that we found six contractors, local contractors that have the qualifications to be able to deliver a project under these tight timelines and of this large of quantity, dollar value. 5 of those contractors wound up bidding on the project, so we have great, we have great tender results. We're confident that the tender in front of you is a good competitive tender, based on the fact that we've had 5 bids. Sometimes we don't get more than 1 or 2 bids on some projects, and so to get 5 in a big project like this is quite remarkable. So what this project is about is, as we around council all know, but perhaps the media isn't as well in tune with it as everyone else here might be. The key element of this project is the widening of Bell Boulevard from Sydney Street westerly to about 500 meters past the casino entrance, past Genland Way intersection. We've heard talk about certain developments coming to town, and large-scale commercial developments coming to town. So this would take us across the frontage of those sites that we've talked about previously. The project, right now the road is 2 lanes wide. Everyone's aware of that. There's some turning lanes at the casino. What we're going to deliver as part of this project is 4 lanes wide with turning lanes at all the major intersections, including a continuous sort of left turn lane scenario across the new construction area. We're going to be installing traffic signals and turning lanes at the casino entrance. We're going to be installing traffic signals at Hannah Court. We have some businesses in there that are experiencing difficulty getting on and off of Bell Boulevard today under the existing traffic volume. So we're going to solve those problems by installing traffic signals. We're going to be putting in future intersections for the big new developments that are coming along Bell Boulevard. That's going to be set up for traffic signals when they come to town. So we're planning. We're not just building for today, as I keep telling everyone. We're planning for tomorrow and building for tomorrow. We're also putting sidewalks in on the north side of Bell Boulevard to address accessibility. We know that there's been a great demand for sidewalks from the industry that we have in Hannah Court, as well as from the recent development on Bell Boulevard, such as the casino. So we're going to be putting a sidewalk along the north side. And on the south side, we're going to be putting a 3-meter wide asphalt pathway that's going to be a multi-use path for cycling and pedestrians to use on the south side of Bell Boulevard, off the road, separated from the lanes of traffic, because this is going to be a busy corridor and we want to provide that safety for pedestrians and cyclists and get them off the road and get them onto their own facility. At our major intersection of Bell and Sydney Street, traffic volumes have grown there exponentially. I remember in 1997 when we opened the 5 lanes east of the intersection, we had the dual left turn lanes and added those dual left turn lanes. And I remember thinking at the time, not sure if the traffic is here for these or not. Well, the traffic is here and then some. So we're now adding dual left turn lanes. If you're heading northbound to turn left, we're going to be adding additional turning lane storage for both the eastbound left turn lane, southbound left turn. We're going to be adding additional turning lanes at the intersection. It's going to be, functionally, it's going to be a great intersection, a great improvement. I think the dual left turn lanes for northbound Sydney Street traffic is going to be a fantastic addition, and will certainly go a long way to solving some of the traffic congestion that we see in that corridor right now. The project also includes the reconstruction of Sydney Street from Maple Drive to north of Bell Boulevard. We're going to be widening Sydney Street from 4-lane cross-section that it is today to a 5-lane cross-section with a continuous left turn lane between Tracy Street and Bell Boulevard. Once again, planning for the future. There's a big block of vacant development land on the east side we expect to see that develop as a commercial opportunity at some point in time. So we're planning for a set of traffic signals at that location whenever that occurs. We're replacing the water main on Sydney Street from Maple Drive all the way up to Bell Boulevard. That water main has been a problem for many years. I remember when I lived on that section of Sydney Street, I remember having my water service freeze every year because the water main is so shallow and there's so many problems with it. And if you drive along Sydney Street north of Maple Drive, all the road cuts you see in the northbound lanes, those are all water main repairs. So this water main renewal is very much needed. So we're going to be doing all that work. We're going to be adding new street lighting to modern standards. So it's a big project. $20 million is a big project, and this is a big project. And it's going to take 2 years to construct. So our first focus in terms of construction on this project will be the Bell Boulevard corridor. We plan to start at the west end of the project and move east from there. We have an aggressive completion date to complete that west half of the project from the west end to around the casino by the end of July. We see that as important to make sure that we're ready for any development opportunities that come along between now and then. We want to see this Bell and Sydney Street intersection completed this year, 100%, new, with all the turning lanes in place, all the line painting and all that done. So we have a completion date of October for that work. Between Sydney Street intersection and the casino, we're hopeful that we can see the completed 4-lane cross-section by the end of the year. We think that's achievable, and so far our indications from the contractor is that it will be achievable. 2021 will see us focusing on Sydney Street and doing all the work I talked about on Sydney Street. Once again, that's a huge project with trying to replace the water main and widen the road while keeping live traffic flowing through it is going to be very complicated. But we've already done the utility relocations through that corridor. We've just spent the past year and a half doing those utility relocations, so we're good to go through there. So I think that's a good overview of the project. And once again, I think we have a recommendation to award the contract to Gordon Barr Construction. We're familiar with Gordon Barr. They've done lots of work for us in the past. They're currently doing work for us right now in Moore Street West. They do lots of work for our developers in the community. They're proven. They have a proven track record, and we look forward to working with Gordon Barr on this exciting project.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ford. I'm going to open it up for questions, and then I'll entertain debate or comments on it. But does anyone have any questions about the report or Mr. Ford's presentation? Councillor Culhane.
Thank you, Worship. Just one very short. How many years would you say, Mr. Ford, that this has been coming to this podium? How many years of discussion? Maybe 10?
Through the chair to Councillor Culhane. Sydney Street has been about 6 years now. We started our environmental assessment process, I believe it was 2013, 2014. Bell Boulevard, a lot less. We really started talking about Bell Boulevard within this term of council. We had done some previous preliminary work because we knew Bell Boulevard was going to be coming along at some point in time. But really the Bell Boulevard portion of this has been driven by this council, and we've focused and fast-tracked our way to getting to where we are today.
Thank you. Through you, just a word of congratulations to you and your team, because it's massive, and it's great to see it come to this point. Thank you.
All right, anyone else for questions? Councillor Thompson.
A couple of questions. The westerly limit to the 4 lanes, is that going right to Walbers Lettuce Road, or where does it stop?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, it's about halfway. It will not go all the way to Walbers Lettuce Road. The traffic demand isn't there today.
Okay.
for 4-laning all that distance. So the best way I could describe it is halfway.
Okay. The other question I have is the multi-purpose asphalt path. Where will it start then on Bell Boulevard? And is it again going to stop where this limit is, or are you going to take it right to Walbers Lettuce Road?
Through the chair to Councillor Thompson, it will stop at the end of the limits of this work.
Okay.
Coincidental with a future road alignment to the south. So we have planned for some connectivity in the future. It will start not quite at Sydney Street. We're going to start at Davie Road. We have some constraints between the Sydney Street intersection and Davie Road, so it's going to be a 2.4 meter path through that stretch, and then it'll become a 3-meter path from there all the way to the west limit of the project.
Just sort of, the bike lane then, when it doesn't start till Davie, will Bell Boulevard have a sign that, what's that sign where it's a bike lane and car lane? Will it have a sign saying it bike friendly, or?
No, it's actually going to be a narrower paved path off of the road.
Okay.
So it will still function as a path. It's just going to be much more, a little bit more constrained than we'd like to normally build.
Thank you. Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Ford, and further to Councillor Thompson's question. He actually asked the same question I did. I had as well. Is anywhere on the radar from where the terminal point of this expansion is, all the way to Walbridge Loyalist? There's no time frame for that, or is it as you said, traffic demands?
Through the chair to Councillor Millette, the widening of Bell Boulevard that we're presently undertaking and that you're asking about has been identified in our Transportation Master Plan 2014. So we've known that this widening is going to be necessary and needed at some point in time. And it's always been, the trigger has always been the development along there and the need to provide extra lanes for the businesses and the development that occurs. So we're at a point now where we need to add the 4 lanes to the point that we're talking about because of the development on either side and the both proposed and existing. So going forward, the balance of this project, the balance of the widening will need to be done at some point in the future when that area develops further on in the future. So it's a little bit of a balancing act in terms of when do we do the work, what's the right time for it. I think this is a good approach. We're focusing on the area where the concentration of development is, and we can start our planning. Once we get done this, we can start planning to do the rest when the need and the trigger is there with the development.
Thank you. Just one more clarification. So clearly, the last portion of this won't be nearly as expensive because this project includes Sydney Street intersections, that sort of thing. Is there any estimate of what the cost will be if we then go further on, just ballpark, if we continue it through to Walbridge Loyalist?
Well, thank you. I've been thinking about that myself, actually, and it's probably a $12 million range. We're 50% done here, so it's probably going to be about a $12 million project.
All right. Anyone else? Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mr. Ford. So, given the experience we had with the police station, which was a $26 million project, have you given any thought as to whether this project will have a dedicated project manager to make sure that we're able to comply with the timelines and meet that compressed schedule?
Through His Worship to Councillor Sanderson, yes, I have, and we've already retained a dedicated project manager for this project. So in addition to Deanna O'Leary, who is sort of overseeing the project, I already have a dedicated project manager on staff under a contract to manage this specific project to completion.
And we're expecting that there'll be information about that and the other workload challenges that department has at operating budget. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ford. Again, this is, it's not an overstatement to talk about how much has had to go into speeding up this process. This is not the normal time frame that infrastructure projects like this take, not just in the city of Belleville, but in the province of Ontario. And the fact that it was just in April when appearance before the Planning Committee of Rice Developments, which is the lead development agency for Costco, came to have this site rezoned and dealt with. Since that time, we have gone through the entire process. You know, what seemed simple back in April when we said, okay, well, we have the land, this is an ideal use for it, let's start owing for it, let's start moving ahead with this, it became a much more complicated process. You know, we already had planned to do the expansion of the Sydney Street and Bell Boulevard intersections. When this project came on, we determined that it was best to tender it as one complete project. We didn't want two different contractors working back to back, trying to meet somewhere in the middle and all the potential complications that could happen with that. As I said, we wanted to go with that one contract, and then we ran straight into the provincial government's requirement of an environmental assessment for a project that back in the late 90s, when it was first envisioned to have this development along Bell Boulevard West, it was first planned to be a 4-lane road all along. We were surprised that the province was requiring us to go through a brand new environmental assessment. And I recall being on a telephone call with CEO Beauvais and yourself and Ms. O'Leary, trying to deal with the bureaucrats from the ministry to explain to them that we don't have 2.5 years to go through a process to deal with something that was already contemplated when that first project went along. The amount of work that you had to go through to get to that December 20th deadline for all the design drawings to be able to put out for tender was significant. And that September announcement that we had from the province of Ontario was a very welcome day when they said that we were going to be, for the first time in the history of Belleville and potentially the first time in Ontario's history, that they were going to exempt us from that requirement for the environmental assessment, and that was good. This has been the #1 infrastructure priority for this council. And I want to thank all members of council for recognizing the importance of our long-term economic growth for that. I'm very happy that we had 5 bids. I remember last term there were a number of projects where we received 1 bid from a contractor. So having the 5 bids, I think gives me a level of confidence. And I agree that the Gordon Barr company has already shown us a demonstrated ability to tackle these large projects, and we're happy that they are going to be able to deal with this. You know, previous councils had a vision for Bell Boulevard, and we're grateful as a council today that we're able to build upon that vision that was first started. And today is a good day for the city of Belleville. It's a good barometer of our future. It shows the economic interest that our community is having, and the fact that people are seeking us out. And I'm really excited about this, and I'm looking forward to us getting going. I know I don't think you mentioned that if we make a decision to accept the bid today, we're expecting to have the project commence on the ground in April. Of course, there'll have to be work done before to prep, as you said, to get equipment and supplies and materials, but that this project will start in earnest in April of this year. So thank you to all you and to all your staff. Councillor Culhane, do you have anything you want to say in terms of discussion on this?
I support it completely.
Councillor Kelly?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. Ford for the report too, and when I was reading it, I'm just going to read a line. It kind of struck with me, and this is an exciting day for the city. As development progresses, traffic volumes along the section of Bell Boulevard continue to increase. Additional traffic lanes are required to accommodate the continued traffic growth and the widening of Bell Boulevard. I couldn't have said it better to 4 lanes. Anybody that travels up in that neck of the woods on a regular basis, just with the growth west of us with the casino and some other exciting things happening with the hotels there, this is a godsend for the city, so well done.
Thank you. Councillor Carr?
I don't have any questions for Mr. Ford.
Do you have any comments you want to make?
Yeah, if I could.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, as we see the growth continue, and you mentioned, you know, previous councils, and I was on a council in early 2000 where we ran water and sewer down there, and you know, whilst there's been some development, you can see that the intensification is starting, and I'm a key believer in that we have to lay that infrastructure down first, and then private development will follow. I've said this at planning, different areas where subdivisions, for example, we allow the growth to occur, and then we don't have the infrastructure to manage it. I think this is the responsible way to do it, to put that infrastructure in place. We know that there's talk of a key anchor store out there. I know nothing's been finalized at this point, but we've done our part to make that a reality. This is another step in that direction, and I think as we see some of that development occurring, whether it be the anchor that we talk about or others, we're laying down that groundwork. One question I do have, and is where are we in terms of our applications with the levels of government, and how is this going to be funded?
So we submitted an Investing in Canada Infrastructure program, the ICIP funding stream. The province in July nominated this project to the federal government, and we are still waiting formal authorization or acceptance from their part. I understand that it's imminent, but it hasn't been formalized, but we've had discussions about the fact that this project is that important to the city of Belleville. We have to find a way to do it regardless, but I'm expecting that within the next few weeks that we will have an announcement by MP Ellis. Sure.
So us approving this today, does it impact those applications and that opportunity for funding in any way?
No, there was a flurry of communication over the weekend, and we're comfortable in proceeding today with this resolution.
Okay.
All right, Councillor Thompson, any comments?
No questions. I asked the questions, just that encouraging to hear what we talked about, the funding. That's important that they've already indicated they're supporting us. That's important that they carry through with that. And the one aspect I would say is that when we got the casino to come here a number of years ago, they were quite adamant that they would have liked turning lanes or signal lights. They're a major player in our municipality, and now we can fulfill some of the mandates that they were asking, and we were promising them in the future that we'd get traffic lights and instead of a turning lane, and they're a big gun for us, and it's just encouraging that we will be able to fulfill that, make it easier for people to get in and out of there, and we benefit from it.
Thank you. Councillor Sandison, any comments? No. Councillor McCaw, any comments? No. Councillor Millette, any comments?
Just one quick question through perhaps to yourself or CEO Bove. With this important step, and it is momentous, as we've said, this is very important. Nobody's brought up the C word. When we do this, are we confident that the good folks from Costco, have we been in communication with them? They've been asking when or if this is coming. Is it contingent on this? If anybody could answer that.
Yeah, well, I can answer and tell you that since April, I have been in regular communication with the folks from Rice Developments every couple weeks. I spoke to Mr. McGovern on Friday when the report was posted online to ensure that he saw it. Obviously the big concern was access to the site and what the potential of a traffic backlog would be. No one has made any promises, but this is the step that was required. Now that we have some timelines that we can put out there as well, I expect that they will go through their process of making their announcements. Okay. CEO Bove, do you want to say anything? You've been part of this for 32 years.
No, I certainly recall some of the earlier discussions that Councillor Carr raised after the land was on its way to becoming part of Belleville, so it's nice to see it finally move forward and will look like a finished street when we're done.
Yeah. Absolutely, thank you. And just further, Councillor Millette, let's not also lose sight of the fact that we have a second hotel that is coming on stream here this spring down at the Walbridge Loyalist and Bell Boulevard section, and then we have another hotel about halfway in between the two that are there that is going to be going into the ground this spring, and we have had record amounts of inquiries for property all along there. People see what is happening in the future of Belleville in that area, and they want to be part of it, which is good. And that's why today is such an important day for us, so we can actually take that step. And again, it is not an overstatement to say that it is virtually a miracle that we are here today. When you consider what we've had to go through and to fast track this. Our staff have been exceptionally hardworking to bring this to this point, and we have the additional confidence of a contractor who has done work for us, has done large projects, and can handle it. It really is exciting, and this will be completed in a couple years. So with that, we have the motion on the floor. All in favor? It's carried. Motion to rise and report. Moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Culhane. All in favor, it's carried. Confirmatory bylaw, that bylaw number 2020-43, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its special meeting held on February the 18th, 2020, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 18th day of February 2020. Moved by Councillor Sanderson, seconded by Councillor Millette. All in favor? It's carried. A motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor?